What's happening, guys? Welcome back to Medical Football. Welcome back to another episode of the Manchester United Fans Corner. I'm your host, Shego. Guys, it's great to be back here with you. I want to first and foremost apologize because I know that we've just been doing the match review after every game. We've not gone into in-depth analysis, and I think there are many reasons why we've not gone into in-depth analysis. And I think a major reason of that is the fact that the Man United news cycle has not given us something substantial. Because what we do is we usually look at the news. We don't just report everything. We look at the ones that are concrete, ones that really make sense, and then we analyze them. We don't want you to just be jumping on every rumor that flies. So that's how we try to bring the best for you. And I think, but now we are towards the business end of the season in terms of Man United off the pitch affairs. On the pitch is settled. Champions League has been done, but off the pitch, now, in terms of who is going to be the new permanent manager, so a lot of analysis to be done on that. Then even now, we're not going to get a clearer picture of our midfield situation. Who are we bringing in the midfield? Who are we bringing as other signings in the club? So a lot of analysis will be coming up this period. And so please just stick with us. We're going to give you the best we can. We give you every time the best analysis you'll find anywhere else. So guys, today we have a very important topic, and it's on our midfield situation. We are beginning to get more clarity based on the reports that came out this week about Man United has budgeted 150 million pounds for the midfield situation, and we the breakdown of the budgeting of the 150 is that 80 million for Casemiro replacement, 40 million for Ugate's replacement, 20 million for a third midfield signing. And so in that same article, we've come out to find out that there is a name popping up, right? A name popping up in the person of Shea Charles from Southampton, a midfielder from Southampton, where we've been connected to the guy that is more likely going to be the third signing in the midfield of 20 million pounds. So a lot of discussions going to be had. Who is Shea Charles? What does he bring to the team? As usual, we'll analyze him. And we'll see, is it good enough for us? Is it a talent that we should also be looking forward to? So a lot of things to discuss. So guys, let's jump right into it. Let's analyze the situation. First and foremost, I want to say something about the midfield situation at Man United. For me, I think it's always deja vu. I think it's deja vu. It keeps repeating itself. When you've supported Man United for as long, over 20 plus years, you just see that certain things keep repeating themselves. And what do I mean? This midfield situation is not a new situation. For those of you that have been supporting Man United for a long time, we understand that even before Sir Alex Ferguson retired, we had the same issue. For some reason, Manchester United does not just do the right investment in midfield. I don't even understand why. I don't just understand why. Under Sir Alex Ferguson, there was a time where United needed serious reinforcement in the midfield. I think that moment we were linked with, if you remember, the likes of Wesley Sneijder. We're linked with the likes of Kevin Strootman. We're linked with the likes of even Christian Eriksen after a fantastic game that Ajax had, where Christian Eriksen was amazing against us when we went to the Europa League under Sir Alex, right? Amazing performance that Eriksen had. And we're linked with Eriksen at that point. Even sometimes there were links about linking us to David Silva. And even reports have later said that we're interested in David Silva, but for some reason he went to Manchester City. That was this is a report. And so we've been linked with all these midfielders, but we found ourselves in that period sticking to the likes of Ferguson, sticking to the likes of Gibson, not because he wanted to use Gibson the way he used Gibson, but the fact is the club were not willing to back him. The likes of Gibson, the likes of Cleverley were rested upon the likes of Nick Powell. If you remember Nick Powell from Crewe Alexandria or so, we were rested on those guys. And for some reason, we started seeing that we are not able to compete in terms of having quality in this midfield to take us to the next level. And we saw that even under David Moyes came on board asking for the likes of Fabregas, Toni Kroos, Thiago Alcantara. You see them asking for these things. You see Van Gaal asking for midfielders not being given. We're bringing the likes of Schneiderlin in, bringing the likes of a aged Schweinsteiger in. You see under I think Jose Mourinho was even the one that got quite what they wanted in midfield in terms of Nemanja Matic and Pogba. You even see Ole Gunnar Solskjaer clamoring for the fact that he wanted Declan Rice, who was fantastic for Arsenal in their second leg Champions League semi-final against Atletico Madrid, right? So you even see what they call it, Ruben Amorim clamoring for midfield. But now we are in Michael Carrick, and I think we have to do things the right way. Enough of all these patch things that United is doing in the midfield. And I've said it months ago that I believe there are 2 rules United needs to follow in terms of how we approach our midfield signings this summer if we're a serious club. Number 1, we are not looking for cheap options. I don't think when I hear is a cheaper option, is it a good option? Is it a better option? That's what I want to be hearing. I don't want to be hearing cheaper option. What does cheaper option mean? Ugarte was a cheaper option to João Neves. Even based on the poll, we found out that Ugarte was even the 3rd choice, which we are coming. That's the second point too. So number 1 is we are not looking for cheaper options. This is a one-time thing to actually build this midfield for a manager to succeed at this club. Right? To build this midfield for a manager to actually succeed at this club. So for me, I'm not looking for cheaper options. I don't think United should be looking for cheaper options. Get the best option that you feel can improve your midfield. That's number 1. Number 2 rule, as I've said months ago, is the fact that I think even the last manager recounted that, which I agree with him 100%. That's Ruben Amorim. We are not looking for stop gaps. We are not looking for second choice. We are looking for 3rd choice. If you have your first choice, go aggressively for your first choice. This is a chance to actually get it right under Michael Carrick. So when I hear there's a breakdown, we go for 180 million midfielder, you go for a 40 million midfielder, you go for a 30 million midfielder. It's good. They know how they want to approach it. But for me, the first question I'm looking for is this just about quantity? What about the quality? Right? And I'm not saying that a 20 million midfielder might not have this quality. I'm not saying that. Right? But for me, I believe, why not, instead of you spending 80, 40, 20, which makes it 150, right? Why don't you spend 75, 75 or 80, 70 and get quality midfielders? Get quality midfielders. Yeah, I understand the fact that, okay, people say quality is not just in the price. I get that. But the fact is also, you also understand that in today's football also, if the top 2 options you are looking for in your midfield situation, are within the range of 80-80, why don't you go for 2 of them? We need quality, not just quantity. And I've said it also that for me, I believe that United will end up adding 3 midfielders to the squad. But the way I want to do it is different from the way these guys are saying they want to do it. And this is my own opinion about it. Why don't you get 2 good midfielders, more or less at the same level, that increase not just the physical level of our midfield, but also increase the technical level of our midfield, because those are the 2 major things we need to improve. We need to improve the physical level of our midfield, the intensity level of our midfield. We also need to improve the, technical level on the ball. We need to be better as a team. We're not a good team on the ball, this United side. That's the truth. We're not a good team on the ball. Yeah, we are clinical currently. We are getting our 3 points. We are increasing our intensity gradually, right? The dire attitude is beginning to, the mentality is beginning to be there for the boys. Even though when they lost a 2-goal lead against Liverpool, they came back and they got the 3rd goal, right? The aggression is there. And we are seeing that gradually in this last 2 games. But we need to improve our technical level on the ball. We need to be able to be comfortable on the ball. We're not comfortable on the ball. Our ball retention is not as good enough. And these are the things we need to improve in our midfield. And for me, go for the 2 best options you have. Be aggressive. Go for them. Right? And then you look at your academy. You look for an academy. I've been hearing the name of Jim Thwaite. I've been hearing the likes of Sekou Kone. Why don't you promote those boys and give them the opportunity to be the third midfielder? And then you have a midfield of 5 midfielders in your team. Right? Bruno. Kobe Mainoo. And the 3 midfielders. I don't think you should be going for, I don't think you should be replacing Ugarte with a midfielder at the same level of Ugarte or slightly above Ugarte. No, I think you should be replacing Ugarte with a very, very good player, very, very good player than Ugarte. That's how you improve your squad. Not saying 40 million and we're going to look at this range of midfielders. No, go for the 2 best. So that's my first point. Let me not spend time on that. So the second one is Shea Charles. I've heard about the boy and I did my research on him as usual. I usually say that it's not just about how good the player is. It's about, does the player fit into what Manchester United wants to do? And first and foremost, it's difficult for me to analyze a player currently because I don't even know what Manchester United want to do. But when I watched Shea Charles, it was easy because I saw some things that I believe is in line with what Manchester United is doing currently. So it was very, very easy to analyze him and to look at his levels. And so I think let me give a background of the boy. When I look at the boy and I did my background research on the boy, obviously the boy has connections with Jason Wilcox. The boy was a Man City Academy graduate. The guy was the captain of the Man City Academy. I think the under 21 team or under 18 team at a point. And so obviously they had connections with Jason Wilcox. And not just that, Jason Wilcox, under the management of Russell Martin at Southampton, bought the guy from Southampton. Bought the guy from Man City, sorry. I think that's the same time they brought Rumelavia, they bought Bazunu, right? From Man City to Southampton. So obviously it's someone that Jason Wilcox reads. And obviously it now begins to be like, okay, this is somebody that there's a background on him in terms of Jason Wilcox has watched his development and maybe see something good in it. But secondly, there's also a red flag in the sense of, is this just one person? Because I think the reason why we say we wanted a system of data is so that one person does not just decide who we sign. The same way Ten Hag was deciding who we signed, right? But the fact is, if you don't want the manager to be signing, the sporting director also should not just be signing someone that he likes. It should also be, you might like the player, but is it the level of Man United? Does he have the quality of Man United? Does he has the data, to fit the squad, to fit the demands of Man United, And when I hear that, I'm like, it's both positive and negative in terms of I don't know how good going with Jason Wilcox's recommendation after he also almost recommended Liam Delap to us, right? I'm like, it's shaky, really, really, really shaky. And so we have to be careful about how we go about the signing. But I think obviously that the guy has the faith of Jason Wilcox. Jason Wilcox believes in his qualities. And so let's go into those qualities. I think first and foremost, the guy is 22 years old. Clearly, when you see his game, you see that the guy has variation of passes. I think when you look at him, he's someone that has that register vibe in terms of different variation of passes, long passes. I think it will be very, very good because when you lose a Casemiro, Kupamenu doesn't really have those long passes yet. And when this guy has long passes, so it's a midfielder, you can also use that. Okay, you can be the one to be the anchor, the anchor in the midfield to screen the defense and then have those variation of passes. It's also someone that you can train to be able to reduce the tempo and speed up the tempo, right? It's someone that can also recycle possession because I've seen it in his game. He has, and when he's a Man City graduate for God's sake, so you know that you can't be a Man City graduate. You can't even be the captain of an academy side in Man City if you're not good on the ball, right? And you can see that he's good on the ball. He's good on the ball, and so able to recycle possession, control tempo, long range passes. He has that. And I think also the guy can play as a DM, CM, and the CM part of it instead of his vertical push. I think every midfielder in today's football, modern football, needs to have that vertical push to arrive at the finishing at the attacking pace of your opponent's defensive side. So I think he has that vertical push to arrive. Obviously, he's good on the ball. Defensive work rate is quite nice. I've seen him. I've watched a lot of his games and clips, and I've seen that the guy is not afraid to stick his leg into a tackle or to intercept. I think he has those qualities. He's a DM, can also play as a CM, as I said earlier. And so the guy, as I said, can drop deep as an anchor, screen the defense, start play for me. I think there are a lot of good qualities you look at it and like, these are profiles that he can do, but you also have to develop on it. I think the guy is physical. I think the championship is not an easy league, as you guys know, and there's a lot of physicality that is needed. And the guy looks to establish himself. I think he's also an international for his country. I think I watched half of the game he played against Italy. I saw the game he played against Italy, and I said, okay. This guy has something in terms of physicality. But for me, my summary of the guy would be that I believe he's a functional player. I don't think he is a generational talent. And for me, I believe when I watch the guy, I know, yes, he has physicality, but when I watch the guy and I compare the guy to what we already have in our academy, instead of Sekou Kone, for example, even though Sekou Kone doesn't yet have the physicality, right? Sekou Kone is not yet as robust as this guy. But for me, I believe Sekou Kone is far more better. Even when I look at the clips of Orozco that was brought from Colombia, even though Orozco might not yet have been adapted to the Premier League and adapted to the league, But I still believe that Orozco still has a little bit more, is still more shining in my eyes in terms of the qualities than Shea Charles. I think Shea Charles is a functional player, effective player, functional. And maybe that's what United is looking for. Maybe you just need, because even under Sir Alex Ferguson in period, we had players that were functional players that, you know, could do the basics and do the basics very well. And maybe that's what they're looking for in the guy. But for me, I don't see the guy as a generational talent. I have to just say my own mind. And who knows, he's 22 years. Who knows, people when he's 25, 26, you might begin to see a different kind of player, right? I'm just analyzing based on what I've seen currently as a talent team. I believe he's functional. A very functional player. And so, for me, I believe, I think he's a player that you first want to see him in the Premier League. So, for me, I would believe, why don't you just leave him now? Let him come to the Premier League. Let him play for maybe a West Ham and the likes, and then you can go for him. And some people also argue that, you know, he's a talent, get him now. It's all me come to Premier League. But for me, I don't see him as a generational talent. I don't see, even though I know, yes, he's physical, he's functional, he has range of passes, as I said, can screen the defense, defensively good, all those qualities I mentioned. I don't see the guy as a top talent. And this big brings me to, why don't you just go for two solid midfielders? So this is my opinion on the guy and the opinion on the Man Utd situation currently as regards midfielders. I believe we need to go for the best two. We need to improve the levels of our midfield. I don't think we should go through this route of buying players that are not good enough. Schneiderlin was one of those players. We got Schneiderlin for, I don't think it was that expensive, if I'm not mistaken. But the fact is, it's not about how cheap the option is. Are they good enough for Man United? Are they good enough for a team that wants to win the league? And a team that wants to reach the Champions League final and win the Champions League? I don't see that in Shea Charles. But I might be wrong. But this is more analysis on him. Let me have your opinion on this. And guys, thank you for sticking with me. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and ultimately don't forget to share. Until I see you next time. Bye.